There is a version of you that almost didn't exist. A woman who could have spent her entire life settling for less than she deserved, less than she desired, less than she was capable of becoming. And if we're honest, there were moments when that outcome seemed likely. Moments when giving up would have been easier. Moments when staying small felt safer. Moments when the weight of disappointment made you question whether trying again was worth it. Because life has a way of testing women quietly, not always through dramatic tragedies, but through repeated discouragement. The dream that takes longer than expected, the opportunity that never arrives, the relationship that teaches painful lessons, the rejection nobody sees, the loneliness nobody talks about, the mornings when you wake up and wonder if all of your effort is leading anywhere at all. And yet, here you are, still hoping, still trying, still becoming. That alone is remarkable. Because many people stop long before their circumstances improve. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lose belief. And belief is often the first thing adversity tries to steal. When life becomes difficult, it whispers dangerous questions. What if you're not enough? What if you're too late? What if it never happens for you? What if everyone else is simply more fortunate? The mind can be persuasive when fear is speaking, especially when the evidence around you seems to support it, especially when nothing appears to be changing, especially when you're doing everything right and still waiting for results. But there is something important you must understand. Your circumstances are not always a reflection of your future. Sometimes they are simply a reflection of your current chapter. And chapter changes. The woman who succeeds against all odds is not necessarily the strongest woman. She is often the woman who refuses to let temporary circumstances become permanent conclusions. She understands that a difficult season is not an identity. It is a season, nothing more. Because before any transformation happens in your life, it must happen in your perception. You must stop asking, "What does this situation say about me?" and start asking, "What is this situation teaching me?" The first question creates shame. The second creates wisdom. And wisdom changes everything. There is a quiet elegance in women who have survived difficult seasons. You can feel it, not because they talk about their struggles constantly, but because something within them has deepened. They move differently. They react differently. They understand things that cannot be learned from comfort alone. Pain has refined them. Disappointment has strengthened them. Waiting has matured them. And somehow, despite everything, they remain soft. Not weak, soft. There is a difference. Weakness breaks under pressure. Softness bends without losing its essence. A powerful woman learns how to remain kind without becoming naive, hopeful without becoming dependent, ambitious without becoming restless. She learns balance, and balance is what allows her to endure. Because life is rarely won through intensity. It is won through consistency. Small decisions repeated long enough to create a new reality. This is where many women underestimate themselves. They imagine transformation as a dramatic moment, a breakthrough, a miracle, a perfect opportunity. But most transformations happen quietly. The woman who changes her life begins by changing one habit, one thought, one standard, one boundary, one daily promise. And then she protects those changes long enough for them to become part of who she is.
against all odds, against all doubts, against every reason she could have found to quit, she continues. Not because she always feels confident, but because she understands something confidence alone can never teach. Commitment matters more than emotion.
Some days you will feel unstoppable. Other days you will feel uncertain. Both days count. Some mornings you will feel inspired. Other mornings you will simply show up. Both mornings matter. The goal is not to feel powerful every day. The goal is to act in alignment with the woman you want to become, even when the feeling is absent, especially when the feeling is absent. That is how self-respect is built, not through perfection, through integrity, keeping promises to yourself, honoring your standards, remaining loyal to your future, even when your present feels uncomfortable. There will be people who misunderstand your journey, people who question your decisions, people who expect you to remain the person you used to be. Allow them. Not everyone is meant to understand your evolution. Growth often creates distance between who you were and who you are becoming. That distance can feel lonely, but loneliness and misalignment are not the same thing. Sometimes solitude is simply evidence that you are outgrowing spaces that no longer fit. Trust the process. Trust your pace. Trust the woman you are becoming. Because every elegant woman you admire once stood exactly where you are now, unsure, afraid, waiting, questioning. And then, little by little, she continued. Against all odds, against every setback, against every fear, against every reason to stop believing. And eventually, life began responding to the woman she had become. Not because luck suddenly appeared, but because she was finally prepared for the opportunities she once prayed for. That is the part nobody sees. Success often arrives quietly, after months of invisible growth, after years of unseen effort, after countless moments when quitting would have been easier. The world celebrates the outcome, but the woman remembers the journey. She remembers every difficult day she survived, every fear she faced, every moment she chose herself. And that is why her success feels different, because she earned it internally before she ever received it externally. Perhaps that is the real meaning of becoming, not reaching a destination, but becoming the kind of woman who can carry her dreams with grace. The kind of woman who remains grounded when life is difficult. The kind of woman who trusts herself enough to continue, no matter what. And one day, you will look back at this chapter, not with sadness, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because you will realize something extraordinary. The odds were never the most important part of your story. The woman you became while overcoming them was. And she was worth every step.